This is paid for. It is paid for and far more by the amount of deficit reduction that we're already on track for this year. So yes, we consider it fully paid for.
Fully paid for? No one believes that for a second, because the cost of Biden's student loan forgiveness scheme just keeps growing. Analysis from the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business today said it could end up costing up to $1 trillion over a 10-year period. That's a trillion with a T. And the questions, even from allies, are mounting.
I'm not sure Biden's policy here works. The other big question about this decision, while I don't disagree with the decision he's made about this, is will it really have the impact they're hoping for with younger voters?
Joining me now is Dr. Ben Carson, neurosurgeon and former Trump HUD secretary. Dr. Carson, you grew up in a single-parent household. You worked your tail off to get where you are. What kind of message does this send to kids who were in your position at one time?
Well, it's a horrible message, Rachel. Thanks for having me. First of all, this is not helping the inflation situation. Secondly, it's clearly unfair to others who've worked very hard to pay off their debt. I borrowed a total of $1,150 when I was going through college. I was at Yale. They had something called a tuition postponement option. You paid back not according to what you borrowed, but how much money you made. So I paid it back multiple times.
Yeah.
And once I got on the board at Yale, it was one of the first things that I worked to get rid of because it was unfair. And that's really the issue here. This is supposed to be a country where we have liberty and justice for all. And yet now we have this plan with the debt cancellation, over $500 billion right there, loan forbearance, another $16 billion. The income-driven repayment plan, another $70 billion. I mean, the amount just keeps going up, and that's assuming that everything is static. It's really a bailout for those people who don't need a bailout, who are already on the pathway to financial success. And you're asking people who can least afford it, the middle class and the poor, to pay for it. How in the world is that fair? And it's sort of the same mentality that says we don't care that the southern border is open and all these people are flooding across, even though it's unfair to the people who stood in line and waited and did it the right way. We don't care.
Yeah.
And they sort of design and define what is fair, and it's not what's fair.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk about how it's a way to woo young voters, to, bribe them. But it's also a payoff to the universities who've been doing the work for the Democrats of indoctrinating students and creating little Democrats.
No question about that. And that's a whole nother issue. Why should the federal government, with federal dollars, be sponsoring indoctrination centers?
Yeah.
And, at some point, people are going to have enough courage, I hope, to actually deal with that situation.
Yeah, we have on screen a graph here of just how much tuition has increased. It's a travesty because this policy, this debt forgiveness, Dr. Carson, is going to do nothing to solve the underlying root problem, which is the outrageous increase in college tuition.
Well, the amount of money in private colleges average $51,000. And when you get into your more expensive ones, you're pushing $70,000, $80,000.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's no wonder that some people are deciding that they don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, well, they're sitting on massive endowments as well, but they're asking for money from the middle class and the poor, as you said. Dr. Carson, so great to have you tonight. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you, Rachel.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.